Back to Build Beyond with Tecton podcast. Today we got a real special guest here. We got Eric Gubler, who I really have grown to admire and follow on social media. He's a great influencer. He loves self-development. It's where we connect. A lot of our similarities is the self-development group of trying to become better. Doing whatever it can to make ourselves accountable to ourselves and doing what it takes there in that self-development.
Yeah. Dude, I appreciate you having me on. We had a podcast over at my place. What was that, 2 months ago maybe?
Yeah, end of January.
And it took off. I mean, there was a lot of good conversation in there too. And I don't think either one of us were expecting how good that conversation was going to go and how well it did. But yeah, just I vibe with you, man, and it's fun to be now on your podcast. So thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming. I literally texted you up yesterday and says, "Hey, you want to be on my podcast?"
And it worked out. There was somebody that messaged me from I think anyway, I can't remember what state he's from, but he's been asking to see some homes, and he texted me about 7:00 last night and said, "Hey, can I steal your time from 9:00 till 11:00 tomorrow morning?" And we had this, and I said no. I mean, the deal that, maybe 20 grand or something like that. And I was like, no, I passed it off to somebody else because I was like, I want to be here. So,
well, I appreciate that. Let's do a great podcast and get us going here. So one of the things that I've admired quite well, and this is most recent, is your 500-mile trek last month. Dude, I followed you. I tried to like every post you did because that's hard, man. Like, tell me a little bit about what that was and the intent about that.
Well, it's called the Calendar Club, and there was only 4 or 5 of us that ended up sticking through it. And ultimately, it was a charity fundraiser to be able to help put shoes on kids, athletes that are here in Utah. And we just used that, Calendar Club running program, if you will, to be able to draw attention to it so people would donate. Cool. I think we have $40,000 pledged.
Oh, that's really cool.
So we have, thousands of shoes that we're going to be able to donate to these kids. But we did it. Well, the reason I did it, I have a buddy up north. His name's Mitch Matthews. He used to play BYU. He used to be a receiver at BYU. Mm-hmm. And he became pretty famous because he caught a winning touchdown right at the end of the game back when he was playing. So a lot of people still remember him because it's kind of an iconic moment at BYU. So anyhow, we served an LDS mission about 12 years ago together in Florida. And so we've been friends. And now I would say we've become really, really close friends. And probably just in the last year and a half, 2 years. But anyway, he was down here. We were working out. And he said, "Hey, I'm doing this thing." And this was like 3 days before. And he's like, "You in?" And I was like, I don't want to do this, but yeah, because I don't want to do it, I'll do it. Now, I'm not a runner, Nate. Like, I'm not built to run, I'm built more to push heavy things and lift heavy things. And my splits weren't the best, as far as my mile average, but we got it done at the end of the day and pushed through some demons. And it's not fun for me to go out for 6-7 hours a day at the end there and go put in that much time running, especially when you're bruised and hurt. But I think I did it just because I wanted to do something that I thought was impossible for me to do.
Well, watching that, man, like it was a subject at my house, just like, holy shit, this guy's killing it. I don't know that I could watch or do that.
Well, I thought the same thing. Just so you know.
About you not being able to do that.
That's why I tried. Yeah, that's why I did it, is because I didn't know if I could.
Yeah, weren't you out there on the last day of the month till like 10 or 11 at night?
The second to last day, it was like 10 at night.
Yeah, dude, I considered coming and running that last 10 miles with you, but
yeah,
I didn't end up doing it.
Man.
And that would have been a lot of fun.
For those, I didn't explain it very well. For those that don't know what it is, you should run a mile on the first of the month. The second, you run 2 miles. The third of the month, 3 miles, and so on all the way to the end. So the last week in the month, you're running a marathon every single day.
Yeah.
And so you're putting heavy, heavy miles on every day. Recovery is a huge factor. Your whole life is just running.
tell me a little bit about that recovery. I seen some of your big leg boots that you had on, cold plunging. Tell us a little bit about the recovery from that.
Yeah, I learned a
Each
lot
day.
about my body, and that's one of the big things that I say that I've learned from doing that is the recovery. If I skipped yoga, or if I skipped if I got tired and I skipped the boot recovery, the compression sleeves, which just
Mm-hmm.
pumping like squeezing the lactic acid out of your legs that's keeping you sore.
Mm-hmm.
And if I skip the cold plunge, if I skip, whatever, the Tylenol, keep the inflammation down and sleep better. Because the thing is like my legs were so sore at night, it'd keep me up at night if I didn't take Tylenol. Like there's just so many little things where you had to put it all together, or else the next day was just hell. And there was days even doing it where I would get up the next day and I'd feel something and I'd be like, I don't know if I can do it today, but I'm gonna try. Like I really didn't know. I was like, and my wife, and bless her heart, she's struggling with the kids, but she was a great support. She let me do it, and so she was a champion through it as well. But it was hard too. I mean, there's so many demons go through your mind because you're looking at your wife struggling with the kids and you're hurting and you're like, God, it'd just be so easy to let's just quit. Let's just not do it anymore.
Shade up. One of the things that we're talking about off camera is how you posting every day and about that and committing to that on social media gave you that personal accountability to push through that.
Yeah.
You told people this is what you're doing it for a great cause. And tell me a little bit about the accountability you felt every day because you were posting on social media.
Well, it's fun too. There's a fun side of it. It's like, hey, we're doing this, that was fun. But the accountability side is absolutely true. I think men like to hide, and we like to hide our stuff, and we don't really face reality. And I see that in so many aspects of my life, of our lives. There's a guy on my podcast yesterday, his like patented phrase was, our secrets keep us sick. And that he like went all the way to DC to get that patented for him. He's in addiction recovery stuff. That great guy and successful.
What's that again?
Living Proof podcast is what his is called, and his name's Danny. And
what did he patent?
Oh, it was our secrets keep us sick.
Wow.
And so what I'm saying is, there's different sides of social media. You can be fake. You can stretch the truth. Absolutely. You can make it look bigger than it is. And that's just going to happen, and we're all going to do it. Just if you're consistently posting, sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's unintentional. And at the end of the day, my belief is that at least you're not hiding, at least you're putting it out there. And the more authentic that we are, I think, on social media, I think that people relate with it. Yeah.
And people love the authentic you.
Yeah.
People love that authenticity. Like one of your reels was your blistering toe, it's like, well, that's just authentic. That in the moment, that's what you were going through. And you're like, dude, like I'm going to show these guys what we're doing.
I think I had between my 2 feet, I think I had 5 or 6, and that was the worst one by far. For those that didn't see it, because by the time this comes out, probably the story. It was just a story. It wasn't a reel, so it'll be gone. But I mean, it was that long. It went from the bottom of my toe all the way to the toenail, from up and around. Wow. I mean, the thing was just so every time. The other thing with it is, because I have that blister that hurts, you overcompensate, and so you put less pressure there, and you kind of back off and put more on your heel. And because you're doing that, you're always flexing your heel up, and then your muscle gets sore, and then my whole ankle got jacked up just because of that freaking blister.
Damn.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to know about is like what gives you the desire to just go and do something like that, man? Like I am who I am. To me, it would take a lot. It would take a lot of purpose for me to go and put that much effort into something like that. Now, I love how you did it on social media, and maybe that was your point, is to do it and bring attention to that cause. And not only that, but to you're big on personal development, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing like doing something like that would give you the confidence that you could almost do anything.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that had a big part of your purpose in doing this. Can you tell us a little bit about decision to make that jump.
For sure. I've thought a lot about it because people have asked me about it a ton. They message me on Instagram or just in a conversation. They ask me, why did you do that? And not in a mean way, just
Yeah, like
why?
I
want to know.
I want to know like that.
They just want to know. And so I've had to think about it. First thing I'll say, James Lawrence has inspired me. He was on my podcast not too long ago, the Iron Cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
And I texted him the last day and I just told him, like, dude, I just mad respect for what you did, because this has been one of the hardest things I've ever done. And you not only did a marathon every day, you did the swim and the bike, and you did it for 100 days.
Holy
Like,
shit.
that's insane what you went through.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting over here complaining about just basically one of the 3 things that you did every day for 100 days. And he kind of chuckled, but he said he's proud of us for doing it, and some other advice, and that most people won't understand what it's like. Well, we talked also off camera about doing your impossible. There was a friend of mine, his named Joe Jensen, that talked about this, and I loved the concept. Doing your impossible, whatever you think was impossible, allows you to shatter that belief and say, oh, it was possible. I wonder what else is possible. So how else does that affect you somewhere else? Now, there's not a direct correlation. It's indirect in my mind. What I did not make me any money. Right. In fact, it cost me money in 2 ways. I wasn't working.
Yeah.
And it cost money for the shoes and the gear, or the recovery stuff. Like, it cost me money. It cost me time. But when I look at all of it, there's an indirect ROI. And the indirect is the confidence of,
it's all up here.
I need to make something happen. I know for sure I'm going to make it freaking happen. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to make that thing happen. And so I've become addicted with that, number one. That's number one. I would say second, I would love to say charity was number one, but it wasn't. That's just me being authentic. I'm not that kind of a guy that just so charity. Now, it's still important to me, but it wasn't my number one. It's not my number 2. My number 2 is networking. I knew that the people that were going to finish and do it are dogs. I want to be around those people.
Absolutely.
That's my tribe. Those are the people I feel comfortable around. Those are the people I vibe with. So I know Mitch is one of those guys, and I know the guys that he's going to have in his group are going to be those guys. So I want to connect with them. And we're tagging each other every single day. I met 2 or 3 people I never met before. They're absolute killers. So that was number 2. And then I think last was charity, which some people would say, well, you should flip it. Well, you flip it. That's just me being real.
I think you're not going to do much to charity if you're not first thinking about yourself. If you're not getting yourself in the right mindset, then charity can't use you.
It was a why, but it wasn't my number 1. And that's just me being honest. It wasn't. Some people it would be. For me, it wasn't.
I love that. Another thing that I wanted to do, and I'm big on, is I tell it within my own business, my employees, they ask me, like, why do you have the self-confidence you do? And it's just like, because I take and in your case, I'm going to use it in your what you did there with your 500-mile deal, is I'm sure every mile you completed, every split, you're like, that's a win. That's a win. And on day 30, you had 30 small wins that got you the big win.
Yeah.
So you got to acknowledge every mile or whatever. Maybe it was a half mile for you, but is that accurate to say? Like you just chalk down each win, each mile.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was every mile, but there was, depending on the day of the month, at the first it's easy, 1 mile, and then when you get down to 30 though, it's like, I would chop it into like 10.
Every 10 miles.
I got 10, check. That was a big win. Then the next 10, check. That's huge.
Yeah.
Then the next one, you know what I'm saying? Like, then it was, I broke it up that way, but I actually, in my mind, later on, if I was to just focus on 1 mile, like, oh, you got 1 mile done, you got 29 to go. It's like, it just plays with your mind, dude. You just,
I hear you.
I don't want to think about it. And you know what? Here's the other thing I'll say, Nate. Everybody on social media would say stuff like, man, I can't believe you got 7 more days left. My response every single time, and somebody listen to this, if you were one of those people, my response every freaking time was 1 day at a time. One day at a time. That's what I responded to almost everybody that tried to get me to think about the future. 1 day at a time. All I got to worry about is right now. All I got to figure out is how I'm going to go 1 more mile. And that last day, a very influential man in my life, his name's Garth Hall. He was actually my LDS mission president when I was serving in Florida. And he gave us for Christmas a picture of a horse, a blind horse.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've seen that picture that I posted on my story, but I posted it the last day. It was Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
And it has a quote on there that says, "Pull it one more mile." And it talks about this horse that was basically bred in these mines. And so it never really saw sunlight. So they became blind. But that horse had blinders on essentially, and it put his head down, and it was like the picture of it is just black and white, and it's just this ripped horse with its head down, pushing forward. And then that saying that I don't know, and I get kind of emotional thinking about it, but like I don't know what the future is gonna hold, but I know I can do one more mile. I could do one more mile, and that I got that when I was a 19-year-old kid. And that picture, I have one in my office. And my wife got it for me, actually, a big picture of it for Valentine's Day because I told her about it. And that picture means so much to me. And anyway,
That's really cool.
I just think that that's important to be able to recognize, because I think it's applicable in life.
Well, much respect from here. One of these days, I'm on a journey of getting in shape. Over the last since your podcast, I'm down 17 pounds. So
Ooh,
that's really cool.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. One of these days, we'll do something like that. Well, much respect, man, on that end. Let's transition over to a little bit about self-development. I think both of us have a great passion for self-development. One of the things that at least that I look at is we go through life and we learn math, we learn English, we learn all these little things in life. We go to college or whatever. I didn't go to college. I was actually 8th grade dropout. But we do.
I envy you. I wish I would have dropped out sooner. I did drop out, but I was 4 years deep. So,
but I mean, you go learn real estate. But what about yourself? What about learning yourself? And to me, that's personal development.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I feel like is super important on personal development, and I would recommend everybody do it before they go to any of these classes that are, and I'm not discrediting classes, but I think a lot of people go to self-development classes too early. You need to learn yourself first. You need to do self-study. You need to become predictable. Your own actions need to become predictable to yourself. And then you'll know how to apply all these self-development techniques that people are giving you. And so to me, that's the number one start of the journey. And I started that years and years before I started going to self-development classes. Partly because I didn't believe in self-development classes, but I knew I needed to learn myself. I knew I needed to improve myself. So I consciously made decisions. I had notes on my desk when I started my business. My office desk was in my room, and so I had a picture right there. As I was laying down, I would always see, like, why did you? The quote was, "Why did you do what you do? Why did you do what you did?"
Yeah,
and it made me think about every result throughout each day, and even sometimes throughout the day when I was sitting at my desk or doing whatever, I would think, well, why did I react that way? And so I really dug deep into my own self, and it allowed me to really glean when I started going to self-development courses, when I started reading self-development classes or books, all those things. It allowed me to know what I needed and what I didn't need. So that was my journey on self-development. And I'd recommend, like, someone focus on yourself, and it takes years. Like that. Learning yourself don't happen overnight.
No.
As I'm sure you would testify to that. Nothing happens overnight.
No.
Nothing
good that sticks happens overnight. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. My take on it. I'm grateful that my mom, homeschooled us in a way, and in other ways, you have to sacrifice some things. So there's some pros and cons. But one of the things that was big in my house growing up, with my mom being my main teacher for everything, and then I went to private school, and then I went to public school, but I kind of saw it all. But in the homeschool private school, it was huge on, you're in charge of your education. We're not in charge of it. You are.
Yeah.
And that's how I was raised. I don't think my friends were, because I'd ask them about stuff like that, and I still do. And it just never really hit them like it did me at a young age. And it wasn't because I naturally had it, it's because I had good mentors that taught me that. I didn't really understand it either at the time, but it felt right. It felt right. So I didn't feel like I was teaching myself the best. I felt like I did need a little bit more help, maybe at certain times growing up. It would have been nice to go just sit in the class and have it just hit you,
Yeah.
and you go from class to class and it's all there. But it also taught me that they're not in charge of it. I don't have to go through a conveyor belt. I got to show up. I got to get better. And the real value is me, like
Absolutely.
I am the asset, not the school. School is a tool,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of people have that flipped. So I think that's where it started. I think that's where it started for me.
Yeah, you realize that you're the one that needs to be in control of what you're learning and
Mm-hmm.
in control of your results.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
There's so many stories, Nate, I think, where people get stuck thinking that life happens to them. And I think enough people have heard that where, oh, life doesn't happen to me.
So
You're
true.
lying to yourself.
Absolutely.
Everything that you talk about, you have victim mentality. I just don't make enough money. That's your damn fault.
Yeah.
It is. Whatever you have, whatever your situation is in life right now, today, if you complain about it, you are not realizing that you are choosing it in some way.
Absolutely.
You choose it.
One of my mentors, he's big on helping people get over their victimized attitude. And he has a story about, he says one of my main gals in my business says, Dave, you're being victim. Like, you're being a victim. And he says, no, I'm not. And they're driving down the road when this happens. 2 minutes later, he starts bitching about someone in front of him, blocking him from driving faster or passing him. And she's like, right there, you're being a victim. And it was an aha moment for him. Like, you're being a victim. Like, you need to realize that being a victim isn't about just a big thing in your life. You're if you're a victim of situations, it's most of the time these little things. Like, do you bitch when you don't land that contract? Do you bitch when you don't land the sale of that house? Like, if you have a problem with what went on, you're being a victim of the situation.
Yeah.
And, that touches really close to home, being a victim. I came from the FLDS. I was in there till I was 20. I would say 2018, 20 or so, like that is when I finally decided that it wasn't for me. But I never have taken on a victimized attitude, and I give credit to all my friends that did, because they taught me not to. Like, because they come out and they're being a victim to their growing up experience. They're being a victim to what the quote or the cult gave them.
Yeah.
And I watched them go to drugs, one night stands, just drinking, just everything. Like, they got off at noon on Friday and they went straight to drinking, and they didn't know what way was up till Monday morning.
Yeah.
And I watched that happen time after time. And what I identified through that before I got out was I love my past. I have so many experiences that built me, my work ethic, my a lot what not to do. I mean, as a young observer in that tight-knit community, the leaders was teaching me every day on what not to do.
Right.
So there's so many things in every experience that you can make that switch from being a victim to learning from.
Yeah. It brings a different energy.
Yeah.
I think that is huge if people can understand what I'm saying, that everything that you say out of your mouth brings energy.
Absolutely.
Everything that you think, that you keep thinking, because I want to detach this thought, though. You're not your thoughts. I don't believe that you are your thoughts. Like, we can't control the things that come in, but we can influence the things that stay. And so if we're not emotionally aware of what's going on inside, we're not taking the time to self-introspect of how we're feeling, then a lot of times negative energy comes out through our mouth. And that's just going to attract more negative energy, more victimhood. And so it's not that we won't, Nate, that's not what we're saying, I don't think. It's not that we won't naturally go victim on some things in life. I think we all do. I think it's more about how quickly can we catch it? Are we aware of it? Are we aware that we're doing it? Because if you can catch it, I think that's the point. Our ego is going to be there.
Oh, absolutely.
It's gonna throughout our life, we're never going to be perfect, and that's okay. I still believe that that's the way that we were designed to be, and the watchmaker up there designed us as a watch that's whole and complete as we are. We don't have defects. Everybody's perfect in the way that they were built. So just get out of your own way by not being a victim. Is how I try to say it.
Yeah, and I just some of the things that was coming to my mind when you were pointing out, like we're all gonna fall back. It's human nature to I find the easiest excuse of why we're where we're at.
Yeah.
But it's all about identifying that and knowing that you can catch it. Like your habit is this: the second you start bitching about a situation, it's like, am I being a victim, or how real is this? How real is my complaining about this situation? And identify the real issues, and you will find sometimes it wasn't up to you on that.
It feels good too, by the way. I mean, let's just acknowledge it. You know, getting angry and frustrated about something, explaining what somebody did to you, and telling somebody else, and then validating that, yeah, that was wrong. It feels good.
Oh, it does.
It feels really good. And so I think that's a big reason why we do it, is because it gives us a hit of dopamine, and we like that feeling. The thing that we don't see, because we can't see energy, we can't see it, we can just feel it, is that we're bringing negative energy into our life, and that is going to manifest somewhere else. So that is hopefully enough to be able to help people see, hey, let's try and catch that energy. You know, I know that it feels good, but what's the energy that's going to result from this every single time? It's the natural consequence. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, right or wrong. I'm just saying, does it serve you?
Yep.
I don't think it does.
Absolutely.
In most cases.
And, we're talking a little bit about like making sure you don't let the negative energy out. On the flip side, make sure you get that positive energy out. I am such a big advocate of just be real, be yourself. And if you need to go out and just proclamation to everyone around you that you're going to be this, do that. Because that's the positive energy that needs to come out, that people need to hear, that you need to hear. That energy is what you need to hear. And I have another mentor, Brad Lee. I hang out with him at times, and he says, I don't care what you're thinking, Nate. Just don't say it if it's negative, and it'll go away. It's not you if you don't give it a time of day. You know, just catch that. Realize it's a negative thought.
Yep.
And don't say it. Let's just be positive.
Yeah, it's the EQ. It's the emotional intelligence. And I think that men, we need to be okay with working on that and being more emotionally aware. You know, I think a lot of the suicides that are going on and the exponential growth of male suicides would be, I don't want to say cured, but, you know, suppressed, like stalled, if we were able to catch how we're emotionally feeling better. Because that's where a lot of these suicides, I think, are leading to. I think a lot of them stem from the fact that people just think that they're not wanted, that they don't matter, that they don't have an identity, that nobody cares about them because they didn't catch early on those feelings, you know, and they suppressed them. We're taught that as men. And this is another part of the self-development that I'm going through, this journey of, we're always told to throw dirt in it and rub dirt in it and get back up and go. And I think there's value to that sometimes, but not all the time. I think sometimes we need to feel and we need to express and we need to be around men and we need to get things out, you know, and just speak the truth of what's going on. Because the secrets that we hide, they just eventually explode, you know, and you never want it to lead to suicide or something that's a lifelong addiction or something like that.
One of the, like, down that, what you just described is something that is, it's a little cliche comment, but mental health. You described a serious case of mental health. And I feel that mental health is a simple a simple fix for mental health every time is what's your purpose? Like because if you're to the point where you want to give up on life, if you're to the point where you
Yeah.
don't know what to go, your purpose was not bigger than your uncomfortable
You've
life.
lost your purpose somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
you've lost sight of it.
And so like find your purpose and you'll find mental health.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. I mean, people aren't inherently lazy, I say. You know, and people don't have a hard time getting out of bed. They just don't have a big enough dream to get them out of bed.
Yep.
And I think that's where a lot of this depression. The other thing I'll say, Nate, you know, what goes in has got to come out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so a lot of this mental health stuff, I think it's rampant because there's just a lot of shit that goes in people's minds. And there's a lot of crap out there that we just feed ourselves through media. Guys, if it goes in, it's got to come out somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think we got to that's when we talk about mental health, I'm just going to apply it to like working out. You know, you got the nutrition side. What goes in is going to be able to help you as you go and run or you go and lift or you go and do whatever in health. Like, and it depends on your goals too. There's so many sides of fitness. Well, what do you want? Do you want to be the guy that's super flexible, that can run forever, that can push 1,000 pounds? What do you want at the end of the day? And mental health, I don't think we work on it enough. And so what I'm saying is think of what you put in your brain as like your nutrition.
Yeah.
And I don't think hardly anybody thinks about, I mean, they believe it, but they don't think about it throughout the day and they don't design their day around it. And I think all of us, and me included, we get caught in that trap because it feels good, or I mean, it's designed to attract us, but we have to be conscious of it because it's going to manifest somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And I think that the mental health, and I'm going to start talking about it more and more, because I think the mental health thing is it's kind of a cliche left-wingist comment, right? And so us strong men and just conservative guys,
People abuse it.
We try to not even go down that route, but it's a real deal.
Well, people abuse it because they want to get out of something.
Yep.
So it's doing the thing that's feeding the mental health, right? Like if people are struggling, they're avoiding.
Yeah.
They're hiding.
They're
You know what I'm
going away
saying?
from it.
And so I think where it gets its bad rap is, you know, mental health, that phrase is when people use it to get off work. Well, I have mental health issues. Mentally, I just can't, you know, I can't right now or whatever. Now that I'm not saying that that's not something that they're experiencing. You know, it could be, it could not be. But what I am saying is it's not really helping you because you're also being a victim.
Yeah, you are.
So are you working on it, and what are you doing to put things in place to work on it? Before you go after drugs and not just, I'm not just saying like hard drug, I'm saying like pharmaceutical drugs and things to help your depression, whatever. Have you done everything that you can to get things into your brain that are clean? Have you looked at your sleep patterns? Have you looked at your workout patterns and your nutrition and all of these things first?
Yeah.
You know, I think if you can go and tackle all of those things and you still have major issues, okay, then you can go and take a look at getting some help there. But if you're not working on those things, you are going to be in their system. They will give you 1 pill and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and then it'll just, I've seen it. You got to, before you know, you're taking 12 pills a day and they all counteract against each other. And then you got to climb out of that pit.
Such a dirty market. One of the things that that has improved my purpose, improved my, the end of the last year, we're struggling, and I'm sure you know this, like the struggle from going to single couples to grow to raising kids. It is a struggle. It upends your life in ways, in good. Obviously, it's good, but it upends your life in ways that you never thought it would. And so, I talked to Patrick Bet David one day, and I says, "Look, man, I don't connect with my little babies at home. You know, like what should I do? I just want to go to work and let my wife take care of that, and the babysitter when she's here take care of that. I don't know how to connect." And he gave me a spiel like, "Yeah, you're not going to connect till about 5 years old," and that's probably true. But what he left out of it, because I didn't ask for it, I didn't open up for it, and that is it's your purpose, your connection with even your little 9-month-old baby. Like that is building a purpose. And so recently I've been making it a point to go home and spend some time, haul my babies around, haul my children around, go run in the yard. Can I talk to them? No. Can I talk business? I love talking business. I love talking personal development. Can I talk to them that way? No. But every moment I'm spending with those kids, I'm realizing this is the purpose.
Yeah.
This is my biggest purpose for what I do. And my life at home has changed.
Yeah.
I come home. My wife loves having me there. I'm not stressed out because I'm looking at them as my purpose. And I'm not the kind to put my phone away. Like I love business. I am happy when I'm talking business. I'm in the moment. I'm all that. And so Tammy's just like, well, you go ahead and talk business, but just spend time with us. Haul the babies around. Yeah. They love you. You know, like just have them in their arm. Let them watch your mouth. Let them hear the words out of your mouth, being happy and all that. And it's changed my life. So I think that it's your children, your commitment to your wife is the most natural and biggest purpose you could ever find.
I love that. I was just on another podcast and they asked me, you know, what's one thing that you live by, or what's something that you think about, or, you know, whatever. And I just kind of said, we overlook our family too much, so never overlook your family. You know, so many times and so often we want to go help this guy, this friend, this person in our company, you know, this colleague or this other entrepreneur. And we overlook the people that are closest to us, our family. Mm-hmm. And those are the people that are really going to remember you. The other people probably won't. They may not show up at your funeral. They may not. But the ones that need it the most for sure are families. And I was like you, you know, with our first two kids, I was so busy and I love work too. And I was just going. And I would just like almost try to force it, like to connect with my little girl when she was just little. Mm-hmm. Now I have a great relationship with her and I can feel it. But I think part of it might just be that it's natural and normal for some men to feel that way until they get older. I don't think we need to shame that. I think women also eventually figure out that, hey, they're different than me.
Yeah.
These guys love to work. Because what I'm getting at is we have another purpose. We are bred, you and me, to be able to go and be a hunter.
Absolutely.
We go gather. We go create. We're good at that. If you suppress two things, and I don't mean to be crude, but if you suppress these two things in males, they will be drawn to kill themselves because they will like everything shatters. One, you kill his ability to create and provide. Mm-hmm. And two, you don't give him sex. You get rid of those two things in a man, and I'm serious. You think about it. You suppress those two things, he's going to go nuts. I think a man needs to feel like he created for a day. He brought home.
Yeah.
You know, he provided. That brings us a huge satisfaction. Now, for women, they light up when they provide life to these kids. They breastfeed and they see them walk and we do too, but it's different for the women. That's that they were bred for that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think the women, we do it as men too. It goes both ways. Sometimes I think the women look at us as guys and go, can't you just be more loving and caring and show more attention to kids? It's not that we don't want to, but it's just how they are wired. And can't you be more like me? I think as men, we go, man, in our dark moments, sometimes like if you just quit spending all the money and throwing Amazon carts together and just, if you could just bring in some money, you know, don't you want to provide a little bit? You know, I know you got the kids, but man, I mean, just a couple $1,000s a month would be nice. That's not healthy to do that to each other. Some women will want to be the providers, and I get that some men are stay-at-home dads. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah.
But we've got to talk about these things. We've got to communicate. And like I just said, it's okay to have it's natural for men.
Yeah.
To be able to go and want to provide. And we need men that are masculine, that want to go and create and go do things. Our world wouldn't exist, and the industries that we have all around us wouldn't without men like that.
Yeah.
So we can't suppress that.
Yeah, and it's to be clear, the results that I'm talking about as far as go home and work. Like that's where I've found my success and battling, trying to connect with these babies. What you can't connect.
Yeah.
Until they can communicate with you, you can't connect as a man. Just like you're saying, we're out there for results. We're out there to hunt. We're out there to provide. We need results. That's what gives us happiness, is results, right?
Yeah.
But my wife pointed out, she says, look, Nate, do what you do. Just
do it around the kids.
Yeah, do it around the kids. Yeah. I'm not asking you to put your phone down.
I love that.
I'm not asking you to not be a businessman. Be a businessman every second while you're home, but just
let them
do
see
it around
you.
The kids a little bit. They love you, you know. And
I like that.
Just this morning, I'm getting ready to come to the office, and like my kids are about 20 feet away. My little boy's crawling. He comes and gets between me and his sister, and looks back and, you know, just kind of like, haha, I'm getting dad first because I'm getting ready for the day. And so she comes and gets in between him and me. And so they just play dominoes till they're both right hanging on my legs. And it's not about me wanting to see results from them, wanting them to communicate to me. It's all about me allowing them to learn me, to be around me, and to just know that I'm there for them.
Yeah.
And
you're allowing him to have that experience.
Yeah. And I think that is so ideal for bringing them up in a way of like purpose.
Absolutely.
Like Dad, there's never a point where they'll wonder, Dad never had a purpose, or Dad never didn't know what to do. He was always busy. There was always something he was doing.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I think that's where a lot of kids get lost, is parents think that, number one, most parents put themselves in a position where they can't have time with their kids. Number two, maybe they're so big workaholics, they don't realize that your kids just want to be like you if you'll let them see you.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
all they're and like Elon Musk hauls his kids around. Yep. You know, and he, you know, just doing whatever he's doing, he's hauling his kids around. It's not a burden to him.
No.
You know, and that's what I love. That's what I love about having the kids as a purpose is, there's no one else that will carry your legacy, good or bad, like your kids will.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And for men that have kids that maybe think that their kids would be better off, or the family would be better off without them in the home, you're telling yourself a lie, man. Like, it's the kids need you. No matter what story you tell yourself of how bad of a person you are, bad of the thing that you did, or worthless you are, or whatever, we all do that. We all struggle with things like that at times. Yeah. But your kids don't see you that way. No. And sometimes you just got to be reminded with a hug and things like that. But it's not true. I hate to use the word never. It's almost never true. I'll just say that. And I'll say it in anybody listening to this, just say never, because it's not true with you. And what's more true is the story that you tell yourself. So that's what I'll say. A lot of times guys will commit suicide because they think that people are better off without them. They're causing pain in people's lives. No, they're not. They're not better. You will mess them up more. Absolutely. You'll mess them up more by going down that route. So on the flip side, be more positive. We're talking about self-development. I'm going to switch gears a little bit because we've talked about things that you learn and things that you do and things that you act. You know, one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot, Nate, this year, my word for the year is unlearn. To unlearn. Wow. And I think about that a lot now. And I talk about it a lot on my podcasts. When I hear the phrase unlearn, I naturally just kind of like, well, how do I know what I don't know? You know, how do I unlearn something that I don't know that I need to unlearn? We live in a world where it's so easy to learn because you can go Google it. You can search it. It's so easy to find answers, you know, and we know how to reach the people through social media. We know all these people that are influencers. We can go ask them for the answer in an industry if we have a specific question. How do we unlearn? You know, how do we go unlearn things that are holding me back? You can't. So the only thing that I can really say as a tool right now to help to be able to start pulling back the stories that are keeping you stuck is to just be open to the possibility that you could be wrong. If you're never open to the possibility that you could be wrong, you'll stay stuck. We're married to stories that we think work.
Absolutely.
And the truth is they may work, but are they the most optimal stories?
Are they going to take you to the next level?
They're not.
Yeah.
They took you to where you are, but those are the stories that are keeping you stuck. And you don't know which ones they are. So if you know where you need to go or you want to go, I think that's important. And I'm not saying don't learn. You need to. But you have to unlearn. I would say it's at least twice as hard, if not more. But it's also probably at least twice as effective. If you can unlearn things that are keeping you stuck, it is more powerful to get you where you want to go than learning something.
Absolutely. I had a little aha moment there when you're just like unlearn. It's like, and I look back on what we were talking about earlier about getting to know yourself. There's nobody like yourself. If you'll take your actions and the results of your actions and say, well, what did that get me? If it was positive, if there's potential there,
like your quote on the wall that you used to look at. Yep, you got to review
why do you do what you did? Why do you do what you do? And so it's just big time. Like, let's learn yourself, because there's nobody else that knows you the way you do.
Yeah.
And if you don't know yourself, I like to dwell on, so many times I would go to seminars and ask questions, but I would never ask the questions that I wanted to ask. I would always ask the questions that I felt like they wanted me to ask.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the reason why I would do that is I didn't actually know what I needed. I would do that because I felt like I wanted to be popular and be the one that stood out and get their attention because I was being interactive to them and all that. And it wasn't until I knew what I wanted that I actually ended up standing out.
Yeah.
How I struck it well with Brad Lee was he came to me and we were talking a little bit. I bought the VIP service so I could hang out with him a little bit. And before I went down to that, I was telling one of my good friends, I says, look, I'm not going down to learn this business boot camp. In fact, I'll bet you I'm doing at least what they're doing a year, and so I told him, I said, I'm going down there for one reason, and I'm gonna see Brad and I'm gonna become friends with Brad. So when it came around to when he asked me, so what are you trying to get out of this? Instead of saying something cliche like I'm trying to learn how to grow my business, right?
Yeah.
To try to stand out, I just said I'm here to learn. I'm here to be your friend, get to know you, and that stood out.
Yeah.
He invited me to the back of the scenes. I was up in his office hanging out while he was getting. I mean, it just like. Monday, I went down to Vegas and got my teeth worked on. Mm-hmm. Text him and says, hey, do you want a protein shake? He says, yeah. And I went over and hung out with him till 8 o'clock at night, and so as long as you know what you need, people want to help you.
Yeah.
People love that. If you know what you need, people love that. People don't know what you need. You know what you need. And if you don't, neither do they.
Yeah. I like that a lot. These are all tools. Everything that we're saying are their tools. They're not us. We have to separate. And I don't want to get too far down this path, but we're not our thoughts. We're not the tools that we use. We're not any of these things. We're not the stories that we tell ourselves. We can become whoever we want to become. We can do whatever we want to do. And when we start looking and we detach ourselves from those thoughts of what our identity is, then the sky's the limit. We can choose to do whatever we want to do. In fact, a lot of people think it's the opposite. They think well, how do I detach myself from all these things? Then I'm lost and I have no idea who I am. Well, no, that's the illusion. The truth is that you're more like a child.
Yeah.
Because children, that's all they do. They're just experiencing life. But if you can match that with you have goals and you have purpose and you're going to attach yourself to identity, but be conscious of it.
Yeah.
Don't be unconscious of it. And again, like I said before, when you're hearing what I'm saying, be open to the possibility. If you're resisting, be open to the possibility you could be wrong.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe you do need to detach from your identity of some things
maybe
in order to go to a different level.
maybe you do need to use this tool that we're talking about that we use, and that we're getting better at.
You'll never know until you try, and that's more of the personality, and just the mindset that I've adopted over the last probably year. Now, I'm not talking about, I want to go do hard drugs and go crazy. No, I don't need to experience those things to know that they're not going to yield great results.
Yeah.
There's so many other things though that are gray enough to where we think they're just as bad as murder. But it's like, a lot of them stem from religious beliefs that aren't as big of a deal as we think they are, and in fact not a big deal, and are keeping us stuck or give us a story of fear. All of these things are just tools and unraveling and unlearning so that we can be more of our true, authentic self and less of the story that others have told us, or submitting to a story or a character that others have kind of forced upon us, if you will.
Yeah. These tools that we're talking about are so effective, and I've experienced it just in the first 3 months of this year. This year, I told Tammy, my wife, I says, look, this year is my personal development year. This year, I'm focused on becoming better as a person, not in business, not in any of that. I believe all that will come, but I'm going to become better myself. And if I'm not a better person, and if you can't see a clear difference between who I am right now at the end of the year and who I will be at the end of the year, I'll be done. I'll be done doing all this personal development stuff if I'm not a better person. Just last night, she says, you're already there. You're a clear different person. Carry on. And so, listen, man, these tools work. Mm-hmm. You just have to put yourself in that possibility that what you're doing, just like you're saying, like, what if you are wrong? What if you do use these tools and they do change your life? Think of it that way.
Yeah.
Like the possibility is that they will change your life, because what you're doing, if you're listening to this, you're looking for ways to get out of the rat race. You're looking for ways to get out of where you're at today.
Right.
And so these are the tools that I believe have worked for me, would have worked for you. And listen, thank you a ton for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for the invite.
You're my first outside guest, and so I hope it went well. Listen, guys, go subscribe and follow to Eric Gubler podcast, to his Instagram, his social media, and all that. He's a great guy to follow. I love reading these quotes, listening to him. You missed, I'm sure you can go back and see his journey on that 500 mile. It was great to follow. Go ahead and like, subscribe, share this if it gave you any value, and come back next week. We'll have another great podcast just for you, and we'll see you next week.